Hello, my name is Amanda Green, and today I'm going to talk to you a bit about influences on early literacy and challenges that arise. There are 5 predictors of early literacy, which are determining factors on how a child will develop with later literacy skills such as fluency in reading, comprehending reading, vocabulary, being able to write narrative text and other forms of text. Those are oral language, phonemic awareness, which I'll get into later, alphabet awareness, which is the knowledge of letters of the alphabet with the understanding that the alphabet represents sounds of spoken language. Concepts about print, which is referring to the child's ability to know and recognize the ways in which print works, in particularly regard to books. And early writing with inventive spelling, which is making educated guesses based on a child's phonemic awareness on how they would spell something. And even at the real young grades, like preschool and toddlers, it can be seen in scribbles. So there's a lot of controversy over what skills children actually need to be ready for school. And Vygotsky says it's learning motivation, self-regulation, symbolic thought, which is the ability to understand things symbolically, and ability to look at things from different perspectives. One challenge that arises in these 5 predictors of early literacy, as well with skills for school readiness, is that there's less time for play today. You might be thinking, why is this an issue if I want my child to be able to read, write, and do math? Well, through play, children work on their literacy development. They work on invented spelling lists with shopping lists. They may say that they need milk in their play scenario, and they may write M with a bunch of random letters, but the M shows that they understand milk. They may play pretend. They may alter reality while they're playing pretend, which will help them later understand fantasy in books and how to write fantasy. They use symbolic representation, which is the ability to understand that one thing can represent something it's not, or something else. And self-monitoring and evaluation can be seen in various play scenarios as well. I'm going to focus on playing practices symbolic representation. Children may pretend that Play-Doh is food. Instead of using a plastic hamburger, they may cut up a piece of Play-Doh and serve it to you and say, it's a hamburger. They may use a block as a microphone if there's no microphone near them. And they may use a shovel as a spoon, and more. This is important because it prepares children to understand symbolic representation literacy. Written words are symbols of spoken words. Symbolic representation through play sets that understanding and foundation so that when it's time to learn how to read an actual book, they understand that the words on the page are conveying a message to them and are the spoken words that can be said out loud. Unfortunately, there is a common misconception today that school readiness is not about what Vygotsky said, and that it's actually all about academic skills such as reading, writing, and basic math. And due to this mindset and pressure on teachers to cover too much material, there's not always enough time for play. And this presents a large challenge for young children in their literacy development. 3.5 hours of daily literacy instruction, an hour and a half of daily math instruction, 20 minutes of daily physical activity time, and 2 56-question standardized tests in literacy and math on the 4th week of school. When I said that quote, you probably thought I was talking about a middle school classroom, maybe a higher elementary classroom, but definitely not preschool or kindergarten. And unfortunately, it is a real-life kindergarten expectation today, and that quote came from a real-life kindergarten teacher. The 20 minutes of daily physical activity time is the only recess time or play time they get. In that 3.5 hours of daily literacy instruction and in the hour and a half of daily math instruction, it is teacher-led or stations or independent practice, things like that, but there is no play. Today, preschool and kindergarten systems are unfortunately designed in a way that does not complement their needs of play. The current preschool system is estimated to only close the achievement gap by 5% instead of the 25 to 30% estimated if the scientifically proven best practices are in place. Those best practices include allowing time for play and encouraging children to learn through play. Instead, the school systems are focused on shallow concepts such as identifying colors and numbers and letters, where that all will happen, but the focus should be on more complex ideas such as symbolic thought. All children are entitled to a year of demonstrable progress in preschool, but we're focused on the wrong kinds of accountability measures. That is a quote by Erica Christakis, who is an early childhood educator and writer. 256 question standardized tests in literacy and math on the 4th week of school. Does that sound like an accurate way to see progress in a preschooler? Is that the way we should be demonstrating how they've done over the year? I don't really think so. There are many ways you can support students. You can make play a priority and find time to let them be kids. Provide easily accessible play materials, and that does not have to be every material that they could possibly need. In fact, you should use things such as blocks and obscure materials so that they can practice symbolic representation. And you can support higher level play by encouraging students to talk about what they're doing and take on different roles so that they're kind of combining two different themes and seeing things from other perspectives. It's also important that you keep pens and pencils and paper in their reach so that they can work on their inventive spelling and other skills like that through play. Decoding is another challenge in early literacy today. You might be wondering, what is decoding? It is the process of translating print into speech by rapidly matching a letter or combination of letters, which are graphemes, to their sounds, which are phonemes. So it's combining oral and written language. Phonemic awareness, I've already said, is the ability to hear, identify, and manipulate individual sounds in spoken words. Students need to have a strong sense of their phonemic awareness to be able to crack the code in decoding words. Their phonemic awareness is one predictor of their phonological awareness and their decoding ability. Why is it important for students to be able to decode? Well, decoding is the foundation that all other reading instruction builds upon. Their fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension all will suffer if they are unable to decode. If they're unable to decode quickly, they're not going to be able to be fluent readers. And if they're not fluent readers, they're not going to comprehend. They might not comprehend the word if they can't fluently decode the word. And if their overall reading of a text is choppy and not fluent because they're struggling to decode a word and it's taking a long time, they will not understand what they're reading. And for vocabulary, without being able to read more challenging texts, they can't read more challenging vocabulary. Their vocabulary will be very limited. You can do an amazing vocabulary lesson with acting out words and using real-life examples like the video, but they won't recognize the word if they cannot decode it. How can we support students who are struggling with decoding? Have a print-rich environment. This means labeling everything. Label the door, label the bins, put charts out, put songs out, write songs, poems. Use decoding skills in vocabulary instruction. When you're introducing a new word, such as excited, make sure you display the word and go over how to decode it by itself and in a sentence so that when you're acting it out and using it in a real-life example through acting it out and asking, is this excited or is it not, they can also be able to see the word so that when they come across it again, they can quickly decode it and understand. Also, use explicit instruction in decoding. That could be chunking, letter by letter, talking about the meaning, rereading, and using context clues. It's important to teach them how to use context clues and the meaning behind the words while they're decoding so that their decoding doesn't become just a mechanical skill and that they can also comprehend as they're decoding. So it's great if they can quickly sound out the word, but they have to be able to understand it as well. And make it fun. Use things like Chunky Monkey, Flippy Dolphin, Skippy Frog, Eagle Eyes, Stretchy Snake, and Lips on the Fish. Chunky Monkey is finding smaller parts within the word. Flippy Dolphin is trying another vowel sound if the first sound does not sound right, which vowels are the most challenging. Skippy Frog is skipping the frog, rereading to the end of the sentence, and thinking about what might make sense and trying again. Eagle Eyes is looking at the pictures for clues. Stretchy Snake is stretching out the sounds in the word. And Lips on the Fish is get my mouth ready to read the word. which focuses on articulation as well. So I really like these different devices because it's fun for the kids and it's a nice way to remember all the strategies they can use with decoding, and it also addresses the different areas that decoding needs in order for it to work. So I hope you have a better understanding on the different early predictors of childhood literacy and why it's so important to set a solid foundation. And I hope you also understand now some challenges that arise and how you can approach them to support students.